I remember having days where I knew exactly what I needed to be doing. I remember having my work assignments, even school projects, and even though I was doing really well at work, I was handling my school, my affairs looked like they were in order from the outside. Inside, I was deteriorating very quickly. And so I would go to church, I would go to Bible studies, but no matter how much I read my Bible, no matter how much I prayed, no matter how much I did, I never saw the real change that I wanted to see in my life. Not only in the mirror, but also on the inside. The level of discipline that I knew I wanted to have. And I knew I could do it because I played sports. And so you think that by you wanting it, you having the desire, you looking for the information, you seeking it, is actually going to bring you the breakthrough. But you haven't even realized by this point that you watch tons of these types of videos, you read all these books, you fast, you do all these things, and it still hasn't changed anything for you. And it's because it's not rooted in the information. It has everything to do with the alignment of who you are. And so, unless you understand that, like my client Jory did, and now he can become a fiance, and he started to tackle away, and not only did that change internally in the type of confidence he had as a man, but that transferred over to what he saw in his life, real time in the mirror, because he lost over 20 pounds within 12 weeks. And so that's what proper alignment looks like. Because as a fiance now, preparing to be a husband, with how he approaches work, his relationship, he's able to have a whole different perspective of what it looks like to show up on an everyday basis, so that he doesn't only do it for him, but now his future family has a secure and emotionally stable man who knows how to regulate himself, who isn't just trumped over each temptation. But instead of hearing it from me, hear it from him.
My body was not looking right. My mental was not right. I was feeling insecure. I was feeling depressed. I was not seeing the confident man who I was when I was in college, when I was in great shape. When I put a few pounds during college while eating, especially during COVID, I would always blame the government. I would always blame DoorDash. I would always blame circumstances, but not blaming the person across the mirror, which was myself. And when I entered the Daily Posit, and the reason why I entered is because I'm not gonna lie to you. When I first saw Jonathan in the videos, like I thought it was a typical trainer. And then the more I got in tune of who he was and where he came from and how he progressed in his journey, it related to me because I wanted to get that. I wanted to propose to my girlfriend. I wanted to get in the best shape I can. I wanted to be more disciplined. I wanted to get more in my word. And when I got in the Daily Posit, it made me feel as in like I'm starting a journey, and it's better to start now than not start at all. So during our session 101, it felt like I was speaking with my companion, speaking with my friend, speaking with a partner that motivated me to keep going. Although like I had self-doubt, he would always put word of affirmation during the session, so I would feel more comfortable. Like I didn't feel like I was in a tight space. And then as these 2 months passed working out, it surprised me. I did not think I was gonna lose this much weight in 2 months. I thought maybe I would lose 10 pounds, but as time passed, I'm knowing my physique is getting better, my muscles are getting better, my chest is getting more defined. Believe it or not, this chest right here used to be like a lot sluggish, and although I had the arms, it was not as defined as you see now. And I think it all to the Daily Deposit, not only because of me taking the risk and putting a step forward to get my body right, but also Coach Jonathan to give me my nutrition meals throughout the week, having me meal prep, calling me when when I look like I'm not being disciplined or I'm not showing out or I'm not putting in the work I need to put work in. And I want to thank him for that because he held me accountable. He gave me all the support I need and gave me all the information I need. And we have weekly sessions that motivate others to keep going even when they don't want to, and also relate to other people, see their point of view, and they give you pretty much more idea, more perspective, and more wisdom of what to do and what not to do. And I want to thank you for that. If you're a person like me that feels and like you have self-doubt and changing your habits, changing your image, this is your sign to tune into Daily Deposit. He will give you all the information and all the support you need to get to your end goal. And I promise you, even after you're done with your session, you're gonna feel as in like you made the best decision in your life. Thank you. This is Jay. This is my testimonial. Daily Deposit is the way to go.
And this is exactly how you're going to be able to do the same. We're going to start off in 1 John 2, verse 15. Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in them. For everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life comes not from the Father, but from the world. The world and its desires pass away, but whoever does the will of God lives forever. We're going to be breaking this down because the truth is, you might not be in the clubs, you might not be smoking and drinking weed and doing a lot of the things that you think it's referring to the world. But when we break down the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is going to connect so many dots that it's finally going to give you the type of alignment to see the breakthrough that you've really been looking for. And this is how we're going to properly use this Bible, because it is a tool. It is the word of God. But if you just read it with plain eyes and not actually seek the understanding, you won't see the same type of impact. And that's why you're watching me have this impact. So the lust of the flesh. And so we're starting here with loving the world. It talks about how if you love the world, the love of the Father is not in you. Now, loving the world means it could be the sports, the culture, the idolization, because we weren't meant for glory or worship or praise. But there are a lot of secular things that are also not biblical, but anti-God, anti-Christ, because we're promoting and exalting these things higher than God and making it our focus in all of our heart's affection. I want you to realize it's not a matter of what you do. It's a matter of your heart posture, of who you are. What has you captivated? What keeps your eyes and all of its focus? And so when we love the world, we can adapt its customs and its adoration and its affections. And we understand what not to do, because what angers the world and gets us farther away from the proximity of being accepted by the world's cultures of how it does things. Meaning, okay, I'm gonna get a house, I'm gonna get a car, I'm gonna go to school, and I'm gonna have this type of lifestyle where the world can approve of it. Because who would disapprove of someone who goes to school, go to work every day, goes on 2-3 vacations per year, has a decent enough car? You're passable. The world will not hate you for that. No one will disagree. And so you have a love for what the world's standards has been, and you know how to get the world's approval, versus getting the Father's approval is so much more different. The Father's approval is seeking out his heart. You look at certain passages like Peter of how he knew that Jesus was the Son of God. He said, only the Spirit could have disclosed that to you. My Father only tells you these things. And so when you have a heart that is searching for God, he's going to share his desires, his affections, what moves him. And now what displeases him will also displease you. It's not naturally in your flesh that what God despises is what you despise. And I can say that firsthand, because when I was dating, a perfect example is that I would never date women in the church. And I didn't love God's daughters. I actually didn't have a taste, a liking to them, because I didn't feel like they was as creative, or they didn't look as good, or dress a certain way that caught my eye. Versus the world, I loved the world because I had a lust for my flesh, my own selfish ambition, because the world, the women in there, they would have this creative. They would wear locks. They would have these certain type of, asymmetrical crop top type of looks, and, certain makeup. And I was a big creative, and I loved it. I loved the variety. I loved the eccentric, the kind of mystical type of feel. It created some curiosity. It wasn't just nudity per se, but it was just the look and the feel of the world. And so I got rebuked. And that's why it's important to have homegirls that you're not trying to smash, or you secretly down low, or just emotionally manipulating and using them as a place of comfort for yourself, even though you're not physically attracted to them or plan on dating them. You just use them and entice them for your own measures. I was guilty of that too. But true homegirls that will be able to tell you like, yo, she's not your type. You're actually just dating her because you think she's cute, you think she's hot, but you're running away from God's daughters. You don't date any Christian women. Like true women of God who go to church, who do their thing, who sit in the front. And I would always say that. I would say the baddies sit at the back of the church. They don't ever sit in the front. The baddies are always in the back, and they never come every Sunday. There's always the one in the front that, serves faithfully, that one that, she's all right, But that's what it means to love the world in practical sense, right? And so now this is also to the physical desires. You have a craving to satisfy those desires because they are what you are longing for. And so this is going to show up within your food, especially within your nutrition, that anytime you have a stressful moment, you run towards being comforted by a meal, by feeling safe. You feel hidden for 15 minutes. As long as that, I used to order the black box of Domino's, the handmade pan. I would get the meat lovers. I would get a case of beer. And that was my quiet time where I just put something on and it felt like the world melted away until I woke up the next day. And that is what the lust of the flesh looks like. Your bodily desires to want to go have sex, to go masturbate, to release yourself, to basically have a physical way that you're coping, that keeps you trapped in a loop. Because now you have dopamine, you have these sensory things in your brain that is picking up on that activity, and now it creates a pattern recognition. And so your brain is great at patterns and habits. And so whatever is the habit you've created, it doesn't like change. And so now it's going to adapt to make that the new normal of what you do and how you process those emotions while you continue to run away. And so until you recognize that you truly do have a love for it, and that happens with true humility, the same way I could just openly admit that now about how I'm dating just because I'm married is what I had to do real time. You have to admit to yourself that you love these things. I think food is the easiest one of because we make jokes about it. Oh man, I love the food. It just be too seasoned. It just be too seasoned. No, I love running away from what I have to deal with about my workday. And instead of unpacking it, I rather unpack a 12 pack of wings. That's the truth. That's the harder truth. It's not just the food tastes good. It does taste good. That's the surface layer, but it also feels good to your soul more than your body. And so this can create the jealousy, the anger, and self-ambition that we'll get to later. Now, when we talk about the lust of the eyes, this is what captivates your eye. This is what becomes the apple of your eye. And this is what I call, I see it, I want it. And as long as it's within my eye gaze and I can behold of it, and this is what makes social media so dangerous, is because that is what doom scrolling essentially is. You are looking for things that you see and that you want. And you can even say that goes for memes and comedic videos. You see an opportunity for relief and now you want it. What doom scrolling, it really is pretty much you escaping reality so that you can have a moment to not have to think about anything or have any responsibilities. Meanwhile, you're thinking all that much more. You're actually thinking more when you're doom scrolling than if you actually were to sit down and do nothing. And you actually thought about all your responsibilities, you wrote them down and realized you don't have that much on your plate. Especially when you compare to where you want to be and where you are now. When you write those lists down of where you're at today, how could you possibly get to where you want to go? For example, me as a coach, if I was like one day I want to have 200 clients, how me at 35 am I going to be like, dang, I'm feeling kind of, so I write it down. I write each person down. I look at what their needs are and their wants. And then I slowly realize it's not that much. I'm just stuck on the fact that in my own head, when I keep it to myself, when I have the burdens on my own back instead of exchanging it for the yoke of Christ, because he says my burden is easy and light to carry. There's still a burden. It's just light. But that's the point. He's called me to this. And if he called me to do this, if I do it aside from him, apart from him, it will always be heavier because I'm carrying the burden instead of him. And so that exchange looks like in the moment, I'm actually taking a notebook, this one specifically, and I'm writing it down and noticing if God is calling me to more and I have the innate desire to have more, the only way I'm going to be able to have that breakthrough is by pulling him in and inviting him how to actually strategize so that whatever I see, I don't actually want. This is going against the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. This is it. That's Psalm 23, beating the lust of the eyes. Because if I'm with him, I have nothing that I need or to want. And I got caught up in this really quickly. I had a car at 19. I had a Lexus ES330. It was the emerald green one. If you ever seen it, it's a very solid car. It got passed down from my dad to my older brother to me. I did over $3,000 worth of repairs that I worked on myself because I wanted a Lexus. It was a good car. And I was the youngest in my friend group driving. And so because I saw how other dudes with cars got treated, right? That goes with status in a car itself. I wanted to be treated the same way. The same thing with clothes, right? Clothes, I noticed, especially coming from Brooklyn, New York, Pop Smoke was big at the time. And so everybody's rocking Dior. I remember everyone, Christian Dior, I'm in all the stores. And so now I have the lust of the eyes. I see all these dudes getting the girls. They have Cartier glasses. Everybody got the specific vibe and the specific look. Even in high school, it was McQueen scarves. And the truth in that is I really wanted that approval. The lust of the eyes is if I see it, I want it because it's also forbidden. There's a forbidden nature about how you can go about acquiring something that is going to have you forfeit your soul. Forfeiting your soul isn't just cutting a chicken neck over a pentagram and being like, check. It's actually when you compromise the morals and values of who you are for the sake of getting something, receiving it on your end. Because I found myself scamming, meaning I would go on a website, I would download credit card information, and then I would pretty much use their information for my own benefit because my eyes were so much lustful. And so this is what I was yearning for. I wanted to come out of the black truck Uber. I wanted to be the youngest one driving. I wanted the flyest clothes. Then even with bodies, I wanted that physique, that big dog. And I wanted everyone to know about it in my status. And I wanted to have money. But all these things are just monkey see, monkey do. Because once you see someone else who's achieving it, you want it for yourself because of how it looks. Not how are they, how is their soul. It's just based off of looks. And so you go on your phone and when you're doom scrolling, going throughout your day, even when you're not looking at those provocative sexual type of women and images and, you know, shirtless, whatever, what you are looking at are money. You're looking at vacations. You're looking at the couple who has the kids that go on vacation, that go on these fancy date nights. And now you become envious because you see it and now you want it. Just like Eve in the garden, it says that she saw the fruit. It was good for food. and it was appealing to her eye. It looked good to her eye. It can look good to you and it might not be good for you. And so if you aren't making that clear distinction of the Lord is your shepherd, he's the one leading your life. He's determining your steps for you because it's not for your best interest, and you don't have anything that you would want, or you're not lacking anything because he's the God of your life and you're not the God, meaning you're not the one being served and appeased to, then you have to sacrifice. But unless you do, you're going to be struggling with those sexual images and desires because you want to be the one catered to. Realize in every fantasy, you're the one that is the focal point. Meanwhile, once you put this ring on, you realize that sex is a service to your partner. That is not about you just getting your nut. It's about you helping them get theirs. And you guys are actively serving each other, competing to love on one another, to be able to fulfill sexual desires, but also to love one another in that physical act. But trust me, it'll be all the way backwards to get married than you make it about yourself. Because that's what it's always been, from your desires and all your fantasies. If anything, the fantasies just make you want to have a sense of control over your life, where you feel like if everything else that's happening within work, within school, within kids, within marriage, is just out of whack, there is one place that you can go to where you can determine what happens, and that is within a fantasy, the sexual desire, where you get pleased and it's all about you getting all the praise and worship. And that is why the lust of the eyes are going to be such a middle point, because this will show up externally. This you'll only see and call it motivation. You're going to go and look at other people's houses and call it motivation. It's that bag talk. Meanwhile, you have your own track that you're completely on, and anything anyone else's has is good for them, but it might not be good for you. Everything that's good isn't good for you. Now, this last one is really going to tear you up, because this is the pride of life. And so what makes this so tough is probably because, honestly, I struggle with this one the most. I feel like I've processed very well the lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. But when you are super ambitious and you are a high achiever like you are, the pride of life is because you want the recognition, you want to be exalted. And it's the idea of everything I'm doing, right? When I post this video, I do want it to get views. That is me having pride of, I want the attention. Give me the views, give me the recognition, give me the exaltation. And so I'll start wrapping into landing the plan of how we're going to deal with these, right? It's because I'm taking the eyes off of myself and now I'm applying it to God. I'm posting this video that I'm recording not because I'm expecting this to do numbers. There's certain things I post that I understand people will take an interest to, is entertainment or is super valuable, is easy to get. But I'm posting this video because I truly believe it'll help someone. I heard a sermon yesterday talking about this. It really connected with the coaching that I do, how I help and serve my clients, and unlocked a whole new stream and pattern of thoughts. And I instantly, today's Monday, yesterday was Sunday, now I'm posting this video because the fire that is started in me, I want to give to you. I don't know if this will do numbers, but I have to detach myself from the recognition that I'll earn. And so this looks like in pride of life, no matter how much work you put in, the results are not what affirm you. I'm going to say that one more time. The results are not what affirm you. It is just the input alone. Knowing that you're walking in obedience, you're freely able to have the confidence to know you're doing as God has called you to do. Because once you make it about the recognition, the exaltation, you begin to create a false view and you boast in your wisdom. And this creates God-like qualities, meaning you want to be someone who doesn't miss. And I want to give you some athlete references so that you can understand more of what that looks like on a practical level. Is like a Kobe Bryant. I mean, very limited criticism, right? Of course, if you're really into sports, you can name a few moments where it's like he really messed that up. Or Tom Brady, where he deflated the Bulls. But when you look at their legacy as a whole, they're godlike. Or Beyonce. These are people who get put in this godlike manner because of how they've constructed themselves and how they prided themselves. And so you don't get to see a lot of their lowlights because they can maximize their highlights so much and realize that just brings praise back to you. The problem with this and how it shows up in your life on a day-to-day is that now you become deserving. You become more accepting of the fact that you need to get a break. And so it's only if I had a 2-week vacation, if only I had this, if only I had that. Meanwhile, what you have has been enough because 2 Peter says he has given us everything we need for a godly life so that we may not stumble. He has given us everything we need to lead in a godly life. However, you're so focused on what you need that you haven't seen how he's already supplied for what is already needed. And so those aren't needs, those are just wants and desires that are only going to make you feel better about yourself. Now, if you are actually burnt out and need a break, the truth is you need to look at your rhythms of rest and how you're using your time. There is enough time for everyone, especially after I've worked with a husband that's a father of 3. Yeah, there's enough time. There's enough time in a day. However, if you aren't managing that time, as expensive as it is, because you can't get a refund on time, you can just use it to its full capacity. Because once this day is over, once this, however minutes this comes out to be is done, you can't get it back. And so if you're not using that wisely with some type of discernment and wisdom, this is just going to all fall through the cracks because there's nothing that is going to show up for it. But that's what the pride of life is. That you think that your time is supposed to serve you, that you deserve this break of having wings because you work so hard. You deserve this. You deserve. If it comes down to what you deserve or what you merited, it is death and death alone. That is the gospel. We are deserving of anything but death. But this is how the pride of life shows up. Now, what the biggest thing I want to emphasize in all of this is just by accepting your depravity of your humanity, meaning how broken you are, you will be able to start to undercut all these things. Once you start to realize that you are actually deserving of you aren't deserving of anything. You didn't even choose the family that you're born in. You could have been born into a completely different situation, but the fact that it was a bit rough, but you're still here, but you're able to make something out of it. That, in fact, the Lord is your shepherd. You have nothing that you want. That he's greater is he that is in you, that is in the world. You're able to take the eyes off of you and put it on him. It becomes a game changer. Now, when this all comes together, it looks like you eating out. It looks like you skipping your workouts. It looks like you indulging in porn. It has a lot to do with you because your comfort is a priority over your sacrifice because you're no longer accepting that growth comes with sacrifice. Instead, you start searching for a balance. How can I have comfort and still grow? And now you slow down your own growth because you're too consumed with comfort. But that is exactly why I've created the daily deposit. Not to have that balance, because balance does not exist, but it's actually a rhythm of a lifestyle. And that's actually how I've been able to lose over 40 pounds. That's how I've been able to quit pornography for over 7 years, quit weed for over 7 years, to be able to find my wife and celebrate 3 years of marriage. To God be the glory. It's because of that right there. But if you're too much of a prick of your own way, to get out of your stubbornness, of the support that can actually change how you live on a day-to-day basis, to make good use of the time that you don't have, you're going to continue repeating in yourself. You have to make sacrifices if you want to grow, but you determine what those sacrifices are. If you want to sacrifice the time of what it takes to actually figure this out, then that is going to be up to your life for when it comes to an end. But if you want to sacrifice your energy or your money in terms of investing into a system that's actually going to change your life, whether it's me or someone else, investing your money and energy to where you don't have to spend that much time, so you can spend more time on the other side doing what I'm doing and not pouring back into others, creating an impact. Now we're talking the right conversation. And if you believe that's you, because of your work ethic, because of what you have, and you know that you have something to offer to the world and the impact that you want to make, but you are not your best version. You see that in the mirror and in yourself when you reflect on everything that you could have executed on. I have a link in the bio. That is an intake form. If you don't know exactly what I do and what it looks like, I have a whole video on that I'll have on a card, meaning somewhere here. I don't know how that works, but it'll be there, even at the end of the video. And I want you to learn what the practicality of this looks like, because it is a system that has numbers. It is driven by evidence. And so you do the work. And if it's a right fit, if it actually aligns with where you want to be and what I do, we'll chat about it. It's a conversation. And so the investment is real, because the work in the process is also just as much. Fill out the form. I'll see where we can start, where we can get to, and we'll start making these daily deposits.